Hello and welcome to the video on positive and negative numbers. This is one of a series of videos on functional skills maths at levels 1 and 2. The learning outcome for this video is to recognize and use positive and negative numbers. This lesson links to previous lessons through talking about whole numbers and the number line and the order of numbers. So in the whole numbers lesson, we talked about the number line being a way of putting numbers into order. And anything above 0 was regarded as a positive number. We also talked about the symbols, the less than or greater than symbols in the last video. And we said, and we compared the numbers 8 and 13. And we said that 8 was less than 13, or 13 was greater than 8. So the further to the right we moved on the number line, the bigger our number. So a negative number is defined as any number less than 0. So anything going to the left of 0 is going to be negative. So looking at our diagram, anything to the right of 0 is positive, and anything to the left of 0 is defined as negative. So anything lower than 0 is negative. Now, when you look at negative numbers on the number line, something quite strange happens. So when we start comparing negative numbers, the further to the right they are on the number line, the bigger they are. So it fits in with our rule for our positive numbers. So when we're ordering negative numbers, -3 is actually bigger than -8. So the further to the right on the number line a number is, then the larger it is, and this still applies to negative numbers. Have some practice here. So I'd like you to rearrange the following numbers in order of size, starting with the largest number. I've put the number line at the bottom to help you for this initial exercise. So looking at our number, the number furthest to the right is the number 5. So 5 is the first number that we're looking for. Then the next biggest number on the number line is 4, then 2, and now we start hitting the negative numbers. So -1 is larger than -2. So the next largest number is -1, then -2, finishing with -6. And there's no reason you couldn't sketch your own number line rather than drawing it out in full like this. So on an activity like this, you could quickly scribble a sketch, put the numbers 5 and 4 down, -2 would be here, -1 here, and -6 over here, and the number 2 here. So don't be frightened of just sketching your own number line with your own relevant numbers on that number line. Don't feel you have to draw this complete number line every time you do questions with negative numbers. So tying in what we learnt in the previous lesson with our less than or greater than symbols, let's introduce the negative numbers as well as the positive and see if we can put the correct symbols between the two numbers. Have a go and I'll give you a few seconds to do it. And again, don't forget, freeze the video to give yourself more time to answer these questions. And here are the answers. How did you do with these questions? So 4 is greater than -8, -6 is less than -2, -8 is less than 7, minus 3 is greater than minus 6, minus 1 is less than 1, and 1 is greater than minus 3. If you get confused at all, don't forget the top tip. Just sketch your own little number line, put the two numbers you're looking at on your little sketched number line, and you can see 4 is greater than minus 8. Again, it really doesn't matter what the numbers are you're looking at, minus 2 and minus 6, and you can see that minus 2 is greater than minus 6, or minus 6 is less than minus 2, whichever way you're looking at it. And so using these little sketches is definitely the way to do these number lines. So minus 8 is less than minus 7. You can have fun with sorting positive and negative numbers, and in the classroom we did the balloon challenge. This is where you have to pop balloons in the order of the smallest number first, going to the biggest. And this is timed, and you can get scores and make it a fun family activity, or even a fun classroom activity if you're going into teaching. The website address for this activity is at the bottom of the page. So the reason we're having to learn about negative numbers is that we come across negative numbers in the real world. So can you think of some places where we come across negative numbers? One of the obvious ones is temperature. Another obvious one is bank balances. If you don't maintain your finances, you can go into an overdrawn account, which is negative numbers. Some of the less obvious ones are, for example, golf scores when you're below par. And height below sea level could also be a negative number. So the types of questions you get in the exam tend to be in practical contexts and mainly to do with temperatures. So here I've got an example of an exam style question where they'll give you 4 or 5 temperatures in cities around the world. And then what they'll do is ask you to find out which is the hottest or coldest of the cities, or even the temperature difference between those cities. A question may be, which is the warmer city, Moscow or Helsinki? So we're looking at these two cities and we need to know which is the warmest. So we've got -3 and -6 on our scale. So the warmer ones are further to the right, therefore -3 is warmer than -6, so Moscow is warmer than Helsinki. The trickier questions may be temperature differences. So for example, if I said, what is the temperature difference between London and Moscow? Then you need to understand the number line to work out what the difference between the two is. So on your number line, you have -3 for Moscow and +4 for London. So you can see there's a gap of 3 between Moscow and 0 and 4 between London and 0. So the temperature difference would be 3 plus 4, which is 7 degrees C difference. Have a go yourselves. So my question to you is, what is the temperature difference between Helsinki and New York? Don't forget to freeze the video to give yourselves more time. So Helsinki is at -6, New York is at 1, so we have a gap of 6 between Helsinki and 0 and 1 between 0 and New York. So we have a total of 7 degrees C difference. Now, obviously in the exam you won't have your own number line, so if I ask you a question now without the number line on the display, what is the difference in temperature between Moscow and Paris? Now the way I would approach this is to draw my little number line, just a quick sketch, put what I'm interested in here. So Paris is at 7, Moscow is at -3, and I know I've got a gap of 3 there and a gap of 7 there. So I add the two together and I have a 10 degrees C difference. Here are a couple of practice questions for you to have a go at. The weather forecast says the current temperature is -3 degrees C, and it could reach -5 degrees C in the next few hours. Does this mean it's going to get colder or warmer? So I would sketch my number line, putting 0 on my number line. I know -3 is here and -5 is here. So we're at -3 and we're going to go to -5. So going in that direction, it's going to get colder. The next day, the forecast says that the temperature is currently -4 degrees and it will fall by 5 degrees C overnight. What is the forecast for the overnight temperature? So again, if I sketch my number line so I don't make any mistakes, I know that I'm at -4 degrees at the moment and it's going to fall. So it's going to decrease by another 5. So I need to go 5 in that direction. So if I'm at -4 and I go 5 in that direction, I end up at -9 degrees C. So your answer would be -9 degrees C. Here are a couple of questions taken from various exam boards. Have a go and see how you get on. Don't forget, if you get stuck, you can always sketch your own number line. So I'm going to do the number line sketch just to keep myself on the straight and narrow. So if I've got 0 here, I've got +13 and I've got +62. Then looking the other direction, I've got -23, I've got -63, and I've got -72. So that's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers covered. So now writing them with the lowest number first, so always read the question again. I have -72, -63, -23, 0, 13, and 62. Question 2. The temperature of a freezer in a restaurant must be at -18 degrees C or less. Which of these temperatures is less than -18 degrees C? So again, if you've got a lot of information, we can organize it using our number line. So if we just put our 0 on our number line, look for our positive numbers, which are 5 degrees and 14 degrees. That leaves us with -11, -12, and -22. Now the number we're interested in is -18. So the only number that is less than -18, so we're looking in this direction, is -22 degrees C. So which of these temperatures are less than -18 degrees C? I would circle the -22 degrees C. Everything else is warmer than -18. Here's another example of an exam question, and it's asking us to circle the number that is 5 more than -1. So again, if you're at all confused by this, just sketch your number line and put the number that you know on there, so -1. Now, much like our temperatures with our cities around the world, I know I've got a gap of 1 here. So to make up the 5, I need to go another 4 in that direction. So the number I'm looking for is +4. There were only a couple of buzzwords that we came across in this lesson, just positive and negative. Can you remember what the definitions are before I display them? So a positive number is a number above 0, a negative number is any number below 0. And that completes the learning outcome for this lesson, which is to recognize and use positive and negative numbers. Don't forget, there is more practice on Moodle should you require it.